All right, theme song in. Oof, hold on. Theme song in three, two. And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast, the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are, episode 332. Listen, I got something special for you guys today. As you have already seen, based on the title alone. This is an episode of a main feed episode of this show. A mainline episode of the show that is not named after something stupid I said in the title. You want a little behind the scenes of how I name these episodes? I'm gonna turn myself down here. If you want a little behind the scenes, that's how I name the Constitutionals. I just name it after something I said. It's a quote from something I've said. On the opposite end, and I'll get to the interview in a second. On the opposite end, how I name LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast, is just a straight up whatever the topic is. But it has to be super serious. Can't be funny, because God forbid I'm funny on a business podcast. Thirdly, the other podcast, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show. That's mostly named after topics or something stupid. I like a mixture of both. But the only one that comes naturally is the Constitutionals. And boy, oh boy, what a natural episode we have. Matthew Davis is the person I spoke to recently. You may know him from Damages, where he had a recurring role. You may know him from the movie Blood Rain, which is based on the video game. If you remember the video game Blood Rain, and I'm sure no one does. I'm sure it's just me who remembers watching the Blood Rain video games be reviewed on X-Play on G4 TV. You may know him from The Vampire Diaries, as well as the spin-offs, the originals, and Legacies. Quite frankly, I thought there was one spin-off, and I thought it was just Legacies. I had no idea the originals existed. And it lasted for years. Holy cow. That's crazy. Now he currently co-stars in the show Grosse Garden Society over on NBC. You know that I like this show. I cannot stress this. Go back to every other interview I've ever done and listen to me not say those exact words about other things that I've interviewed people for. I'm kidding. Matthew Davis has been around for a while. He's been acting for a minute, and now he's taken on the role of Joel, who is a cop that has ties to some of the people in the Garden Society. I'm trying not to to ruin the story of the show. It's a lot. There's murders. There's a murder in the show. It's a dark drama. It's a drama. I would also say it's kind of a comedy. I don't know if I've said that out loud. I think it's also kind of a comedy. It's pretty funny. I might have just said that to myself a couple of days ago when I was editing this interview. Anyway, Matthew Davis is a nice guy. He likens himself to the characters he plays. You'll hear it in the conversation, but we had he opened up, and he feels like he's talking about personal growth. I think that's all that matters right now at this point in time. If you want to check out Matthew Davis online, you can follow him on Instagram. I'm Matthew Davis. You can watch Grosse Garden Society on Peacock. Excuse me, on NBC. I believe new episodes upload to Peacock on Tuesdays, so you probably watch it on Mondays. Again, Sunday is when the show comes on. Watch it. Just watch the show. Watch Grosse Garden Society. If you want to see a video version of this conversation, go to youtube.com/C+comedy, where you can see me talk to other great, funny, interesting. It's not always funny. I'm trying not to just do comedy all the time. You can see me talk to great, great, interesting people who happen to be celebrities or pseudo celebrities or quasi celebrities. If you want to check out the other podcasts, LinkedIn Logs, the aforementioned LinkedIn Logs, Jobs Podcast, and aforementioned Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, you can watch videos of those podcasts as well on youtube.com/comedy. You can subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get them, most places. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook at C+comedy. Follow me at Chad Blackwhite. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned after the interview for the rest of the episode. Now, enjoy Mr. Matthew Davis. Matthew, how's it going today?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for sitting down with me, and congrats on the show. It's a wonderful show. I mean this truly. I sat down, watched 2 episodes back to back, and it's fantastic. Everybody on the show, including you, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I know we're very excited about it. It feels like a very special show for us, and I'm glad you got to 2 because 2 really tees it all up.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When I first saw your character in the pilot, I thought, "Oh, look at this guy. I don't want to support him or anything." And then now I see the reason why you're here. I'm thinking, "Okay, all right. I want to see this arc. I want to see where it's going to go." You have that perfect look for the character you're playing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. That means a lot. I resonated with him from the beginning. I fell in love with Joel and Birdie in the world like when I read the audition. Like before anyone was cast, these characters were so clear and so dynamic and so interesting. I was immediately captivated by it in a way that I haven't been before. And I remember being so excited for the audition. I put it on tape. I sent it out. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And about 2 weeks later, I got the offer. And I was like, I was thrilled, but I was also not surprised because I felt this connection from the very beginning. And I was so excited because I had never really fallen in love with a character that I was going to play immediately, let alone what would go on to become his romantic interest in Birdie. And then I got to sit back and watch. And I think I was one of the first people cast. And so then I could see how they assembled the cast, who was cast. And then we jumped into the pilot. And it was like one of those things where like because I only read 2 episodes for the audition. I'd read no scripts, didn't read the pilot. They gave me the pilot. I'm in one scene at the end with the 2 lines.
Yeah.
And Bill and Jen are like, don't worry. We got you covered. Like, you're going to do more. I'm like, I trust you guys. I'm not worried at all. I trust you. And then they gave me 102 and I about fell out of my fucking chair. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool. Like with that big reveal at the end of episode 2 between Joel and Birdie. I mean, first of all, she goes and runs to a cop to confess the murder. You know, you're like, what is she doing? What is this dynamic? What's about to happen? You know, and he's hard to read because you don't know where he's at. And then that twist at the end, you know, where he tells her, he's like, I'm going to put all the weapons inside the police station. No one's going to look for me. Your friends will be fine. And then she's like, are you still mad at me? And he closes the blinds and he turns to her and then they kiss. And you're like, oh my God, what is this relationship? What is this relationship? Because it immediately establishes from the very beginning that they have something very special. Like if she's going to run to this guy, a cop in the police station, confess the murder, fully trusting that he's going to help cover it up. And then he does.
Yeah.
And then it's revealed that, and that's sealed in a kiss there at the end. You're like, you need to know how they get there. How
Yeah.
do they get to this moment? And that's what's beautiful about the show is like now we kind of go back with the coming episodes. We go back in time to catch the audience up to how they meet, how they grow their dynamic, and how they ultimately get to that moment, which is revealed in the beginning of the series.
Yeah. It's also so interesting that he's a true family man. He's not a guy just
Yeah,
doing his job. He's just like when we first meet him along with Birdie, he's like stay away from our son. Like
yeah,
that's crazy, you know, because we get the intonation that yes, he cares about this child that he helped rear for so
mm-hmm.
long. But
Mm-hmm.
man, it's a very intense moment that you guys share amongst each other. That it's just that one scene I felt was one of the most dramatic parts.
That's interesting because that was the scene from my audition. That scene where he drops off the Xbox and tells her like kind of like, "Hey, mind your own business."
Yeah.
And you could just see that there's just so much brewing between them. There's just so much like under the surface that's happening. But I agree with you, and I appreciate you pointing that out because as a father myself, like when you see that theme in a character, you like it immediately captures you. And so I knew that he was a good dad. He was a good father. He's a protective father. He's committed to his marriage, even though it sucks,
Right.
even though it's kind of like dying on the vine and there's really nothing happening between he and his wife, but he's there for his son. He's there to do the right thing. And that's what I really like about it. I mean, I like that then Birdie shows up and it just changes everything for him. And that
Yeah.
he's kind of in a place in his life where not only is he totally captivated by Birdie, but he's also in a place in his life where he knows very much how to handle someone like Birdie. He's very unflappable with her,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of their attraction. She's very chaotic, and he's not necessarily put
Yeah.
off by it.
She is chaotic. She like that. She didn't just change everything for him. She changed everything as soon as she walked into that garden society.
Yeah,
Everything kind of just like screwed up for everybody. Really, just
it's
that's the way
true
I
that
see it.
it really is true. I agree with you. I thought that too. Like she shows up, and then the entire town is kind of turned upside down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because everyone loves Birdie. She's a
Mhm.
lovable character, but not everyone knows how to love her.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Joel steps in. And so to like know that she runs to him for help, and he covers that up, like that kind of romance, that kind of love, where you can just trust somebody to help you do what needs to be done in spite of like right and wrong, and
Yeah.
I just out of love and trust and loyalty. That's a relationship I want to explore. And like Joel's the kind of guy I'd love to play. I'll play him all day long.
Well, speaking of trust, you were on the CW for so long, 13 years for a collective amount of time. I mean, I'm sure that felt comfortable for, like up until a certain point, and then when those end and you have to go out and find new roles as in this show,
Yeah.
how do you find that trust? How do do you just believe, you say, besides reading the role and going, this is going to be a great show, do you just have to go with it and really just follow through with who you are as a person and think that this character and this show are going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, it's for me. It's a very metaphysical process. It's a
Mm.
very metaphysical experience. Where I mean, like Vampire Diaries. I remember I auditioned for that back in '09, and it was originally just to be on a 4 episode arc. But I remember like praying, like I was in a dark time. I was just coming
Mhm.
out of a dark time, and I remember praying, and then this audition showed up, and then it took me out to Atlanta. I shot 4 episodes, and they're like, they wanted to make me a series regular,
Mm.
and that 4 episode arc turned into a 13 episodes, 13 season, 13-year long gig,
Yeah.
and that Alaric's journey and my journey run parallel through very, very dark times.
Mhm.
And Alaric's journey, when you really look at it, when you really crack it open, is pretty dark. It's pretty heavy. He goes through some pretty heavy stuff. He never really finds love. He's killed multiple times,
Yeah.
resurrected multiple times, And even at the very end of Legacies, he's the last season, he's in purgatory. He's in purgatory, and he's got to find his way out of purgatory. And I won't get into it, but like there's parallels running in my life to this, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so weird. And then at the very end of Legacies, it's interesting. It's the scene. They had one scene written, and I didn't feel like it was right. They wanted to have some big grand goodbye for Alaric, where it's like this procession. He says goodbye to everyone, blows kisses, and there's a
Yeah.
ticker tape parade. And I was like, nah, this doesn't feel right. And then so I wrote this idea of him leaving under the cover of night before anyone knew.
Mm.
And Brett Matthews liked the idea enough to adopt it and then put in his dialogue. But that last moment between Hope and Alaric, when he's packing up his car and he drives away under the cover of night, is not. It's like it's an interesting inversion even of like riding off into the sunset. It's not a happy end. He's not riding off into the sunset. He's riding out under the cover of night, under a full moon. And so like it's an inversion for him. And it's an escape almost. Like it's in a scene where he finally can escape that darkness. And so for me creatively, it kind of felt like that too. And so I got out of it and went through some difficult challenges myself. And then on the other side of those, last year, I started getting a slew of auditions.
Yeah.
I had gone through this remarkable personal transformation, a remarkable awakening in many ways. And then I get this audition for Joel. And there was just something so special about it. Something special. It resonated. And like I said, I put myself on tape. I sent it out. And I couldn't stop thinking about it at all. And then I got the call 2 weeks later with the offer. And of course I was thrilled, but I was not surprised because I was like, I just knew the minute I read it. I fell in love with Joel. I fell in love with Birdie. I fell in love with that world. And then I got the offer and then I sat back. I was one of the first people cast. And I remember then watching to see who they were going to cast, especially for Birdie. And then it's been this remarkable journey into this world now where I'm 25 years into my career. Like you said, I've 13 years on Vampire Diaries or playing Alaric. And now like I have this new wealth of experience, a new shift in my life. I'm in a new stage in my career, in my life as a father and as a man. And all of it became immediately relatable to Joel. And the fact that Joel's the kind of guy that helps his lover cover up a murder, I'm like, I'll play that guy all day long. Let's
That's
go.
perfect. That's perfect. Well, Matthew, I appreciate this, man. You're doing a great job, and both inside and out, off on the television, off the television. Congratulations for everything, and I hope to see more of you. You're a wonderful actor, and Grosse Point's a great show. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate the time.
yeah, you're very welcome. All right, have a good rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Welcome back in. Here we go. I was editing last week's. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I was editing last week's episode, and I believe that had an interview in it as well. Let me triple check, but it was either it's definitely last week's episode. I was editing last week's episode, co-star to Mr. Matthew Davis, Mr. Alexander Hodge. Jesus. Anyway, and I was looking. As soon as I hit export on the video, I realized that I did the intro, and then I'm pretty sure that I did not edit in a place card for taking a break and then coming back. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I will not double check. I didn't even double check, so I definitely won't be triple checking. Welcome back in. If you hear a whirring noise in the background, not a worrying noise, a whirring noise, you are definitely hearing the sous vide machine in the kitchen, currently warming up. I knew that it is almost 4:00. I knew that I was going to be making dinner, and I knew that I didn't want to cook anything. So in December at Whole Foods, they were selling the remains. Like if this is my favorite thing, I love doing this every single year. I've done it every single year for the past couple of years. Go to Whole Foods after Thanksgiving. They have so many turkeys left over. A couple of weeks after that, they'll be wanting to get rid of those turkeys so badly, they'll start cutting them up and selling out the parts individually. So breasts, legs, wings. Uh, just name the favorite parts of the ladies. Breasts, legs, wings. You can unsubscribe if you want. So God, Jesus Christ. So every year I ended up I go buy a bunch of parts and season them and then save them, freeze them in freezer bags. What's it called? The sous vide bags, the air vacuum. You take out the air from the vacuum sealer bags. Oh Jesus! So I save them in those. Date them. I'm gonna tell you right now. I've been sous videing for a couple of years now. I did not date things for a very long time. Case in point, a couple of months ago, I threw away a lamb steak. It was lamb. It was just lamb. I threw away lamb that probably had been there for 8 months to a year. The reason why I threw it away, because you could probably eat it, but it was going to be freezer burn regardless. Because also it was not sealed. It was not sealed the best. Air had definitely gotten in there, but now I've bettered my procedure when it comes to vacuum sealing. This is not interesting. Anyway, but I knew I was going to be over here. And I knew I didn't want to get up in the middle of the show because that's rude. How dare I? And I just threw the turkey wing in there. So let me see where it is right now. Let's see where the sous vide machine is right now. Also, I have the Google Wi-Fi set up to tell me when something joins the network or rejoins the network, the Wi-Fi network. And every time I turn the sous vide machine on, I get this Google Home message. And over 624929973 has joined the network. Anyway, it's at 136 degrees. I'm waiting for it to get to 165, and then it'll cook for 2 hours. It's going to take a little. It takes time for it to heat up. I love sous videing though. Oh my gosh. And one day when I'm making things for a party, I'm going to take that sous vide, because you better believe I got the most powerful one that Anova had at the time. This is a couple years old now. But I want to take that sous vide machine and I want to stick it in the biggest cooler I can find and just make a bunch of sous vide food for people. That'd be so fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was wonderful. I just set up a separate interview for some other people for the next couple of days. So it's going to be nice to have. I put out an individual goal this year for interviews. The things I want to do for C Plus Comedy, the amount of interviews I want to do for C Plus Comedy. And I don't know if I'm counting each junket as a separate one or in total, like the cast of the hunting party. I don't know if that's one interview or several interviews. I think it's going to be several, because it's the same thing. Like when I read books, I finished The Art of War about 2 months ago. That did not take a lot of time, but I'm currently listening to The Lord of the Rings, and it's wild. Also, there's so much singing. There's so much singing in this book. And to confirm that, I looked at pages of the books, and the lyrics are written down. There's so much singing. Oh my God. But Andy Serkis playing Treebeard is insane. As somebody who has books on Audible, who has read books for Audible's platform, the way he can, I know he's an actor, I know he does all this stuff, but the way that he can modulate his voice is crazy. Oh my goodness, he's so good. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good. Right now I'm on 2 towers. I have about 9 hours left, and then Return of the King will be the next one. And then what I'm going to do, I also own The Hobbit. So I'm just going to blast through that so I can watch all 6 movies again with so much context. They're movies I own. I bought the movies on DVD in extended form when I was living at home. This has to be like high school. This is before 4K, Blu-ray, blue, blah blahs, all that stuff. It's like in high school, and I bought them probably at there's a store called CD Warehouse, I believe that's what it's called, and I bought all 3 there for probably like $11, the extended versions, and I cherished them. It took me a while to get through them, because when you don't grow up with fantasy, I was thinking about that the other day. I did not grow up with fantasy. I did not grow up watching Star Wars, which is probably why. And there's a lot of reasons I don't like Star Wars, mostly because of the racist fans. And Lord of the Rings. No, nothing's like truly nothing space, nothing fantasy, none of that stuff. And then when you come into your own as somebody who watches a lot of TV shows or movies or even listens to a lot of music, because I listened to a lot of rock until Guitar Hero came out. And then suddenly a young black man in the suburbs can listen to rock, as opposed to when you're living up there, everybody like assumes you have to listen to hip hop and R&B and gospel music. That's why I love Sirius XM, because I can turn to Alt Nation and learn so much about alternative rock. This is why I'm such a huge fan of U2 and Bruce Springsteen and Pearl Jam now, as opposed to when you're supposed to be fans of Pearl Jam as a teenager, because that's like that grunge and everything. I'm going through a grunge phase right now. I went through an alt rock phase. I'm going through a grunge phase, and although a lot of it is sticking, just like an alt rock, a lot of that stuff. I went through an indie rock phase years ago, and a lot of that stuck. Anyway, Pearl Jam's coming to Atlanta in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to get tickets. Ooh, I'm trying to get tickets. Oh, let me go see Pearl Jam. Oh. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the first story. This comes from Variety, written by Brett Lang and Matt Donnelly. Sundance is moving to Boulder, Colorado in 2027. They're taking out the state of Utah. There's a spoil. I'm not caught. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Abbott Elementary, mostly because they look at the camera after delivering every quote unquote joke. But I still watch the show because it is still mostly entertaining to me. I'm sick of going to these gosh dang trade websites and seeing spoilers for shows and movies and headlines. The moment of Tony Soprano happened. That moment, I don't watch The White Lotus, but like that moment on The White Lotus when blank was blanked. Just don't ruin it for people. Just say, this is discussing last night's White Lotus. The Sundance Film Festival is relocating to Boulder, Colorado in 2027. It's been in Park City, Utah for a couple of years. They reached the end of their, a couple of decades, right? Decade? No. They reached the end of a 10-year deal with the city officials after an extensive search for a new base of operations. They looked at 2 finalists, including Cincinnati, Ohio, and Salt Lake City, as well as Park City. But they ended up going with Boulder. The festival's leadership cited the fact that it's a college town as well as a tech hub. The great thing about moving to Boulder is you have to drum up these younger people who will be interested in the film festival. And also Boulder happens to be a blue state. I think that is a part of it. Colorado, I know Colorado in general is like a growing tech state, but yeah, to know that people are moving for everything to cities like Boulder and Denver. They're doing it for comedy. Just like Austin had a big boom for arts, Boulder and Denver are having the same type of thing. They're doing it for tech. It also highlighted the community's natural beauty, something that has been a key component of Sundance, which has always boasted itself as an opportunity to watch great movies against an alpine backdrop. Sorry, I'm a little drunk. Just kidding. Park City, they were in Park City since 1985. You saw just a slew of movie premieres there, including Little Miss Sunshine. So, sorry, drunk. And Reservoir Dogs. And if you were a movie fan, you knew that Park City was the place to be when it came to this festival and when it came to showing, and if you're somebody who made movies, when it came to showing off movies. The last edition of the festival wasn't the biggest. The last few haven't been the biggest, mostly because of the pandemic. And then also we've been dealing with a box office that has not really bounced back. I mean, hey, with films like Avengers Endgame announcing 78 people in their movie yesterday, maybe the box office will bounce back. I try to go to, look, I mention this all the time. I try to go to movies so much. Have I been in the past couple of weeks? I have not. But it's not my fault. It is the fault of my wallet. I go to a movie once a week I go to a movie twice a week if I could. The relationship with the festival and the town has also become strained. Studio executives and agents have been frustrated by the high cost of sending people to Park City, while some locals have grown disenchanted with the influx of fans and press into their tiny hamlet. The fact that the festival is held in the height of ski season, the main source of revenue for the community, has also been a source of tension. In 2024, the Sundance Institute, the nonprofit behind the festival, announced that it was entertaining proposals from viable locations in the United States to host the festival when the current contract expired in Park City with Park City in 2026. Over 100 potential cities, I believe, including Atlanta, were the also suggestions. There's also an Atlanta Film Festival here, and I tried a couple of years ago to volunteer with it, and they did not even want me as an usher or something like that. It's crazy. Makes me mad. By moving to Colorado. I was gonna say Boulder, but by moving to Boulder in Colorado, it's going to be a bigger boom, and I'm sure that, maybe in the future, Park City will miss the extra influx of money, because if you have a, I understand that Park City is a very popular place already, and yes, during ski season, it probably already gets its fair share of payments of tourists. However, every major city like this should want to have some type of large revenue source in the end. And maybe they'll be wooing other film festivals of a smaller scale, because those will never stop. All right, this next one comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Mia Gallupo, Amy Pascal, David Heyman. Closed deals to produce next James Bond movie for Amazon MGM. We know that Jeff Bezos was so mad at Barbara Broccoli, that who's part of the Broccoli family, whose family owned the rights to James Bond, owned, past tense. We know he was so mad after he heard her say the execs don't know what the F they're doing. And then he said, get her away from this. Get the properties. We need these properties. I don't want to speak to her again. One of the big worries of Amazon, and then Amazon now owns the James Bond franchise. One of the biggest worries of having a company like Amazon, I'm not even going to say like a studio, because MGM was the distributor, but having a studio, a company like Amazon, tech company like Amazon, own James Bond is that, and we've seen this with the Washington Post, we will see a massive decline when it comes to the quality of those movies. You'll see a massive decline when it comes to the quality of the franchise itself. But Chad, so many James Bond games came out and they were horrible, or bad, or just okay. And yes, that's very true. But James Bond wasn't, for lack of a better word, hoard out in the way that a lot of other IPs are. Like, look at how precious Disney is with the things it owns, and Warner is with the things that it owns. However, look at Ubisoft putting out, how many Assassin's Creeds in the past couple of years, and how prior to Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla and Shadows, how many different, and Mirage, I guess, how many different ways had they gone in, or how often had the games stay? I feel like I'm rubbing my nose a lot. I know I am. There's pollen, and I wore this shirt outside. So if you're watching the video, you see me rub my nose. I wore this shirt outside, took Maverick for a walk to the dog park, and I said, let me put it on for the podcast. Anyway. But how many times have we seen so many different versions of Far Cry? Like, there's bad versions of Far Cry. There's bad versions of what was I talking about? Assassin's Creed. There's bad versions of Splinter Cell games. So that's what happens when you lose, and also Assassin's Creed. There's so many comics or whatever. Far Cry. Is there a Far Cry movie? Is there a Far Cry movie? I think so. There's an Assassin's Creed movie, Far Cry movie. Oh, good Lord. Is that based on the video game? Oh my goodness, it is. It's from Uwe Boll. Hey, second Uwe Boll mentioning. I talked about the Blood Rain movie. Blood Rain, the video game, which also has a movie, which was directed by Uwe Boll. God. This guy cannot make a good movie at all. Let's see the video game movies he's made. Why does this guy get all of the video game movies? And he's written 6 books. Who is buying this man's books? Films. Sorry. I should probably not do this. I don't care. Alone in the Dark, Postal, House of the Dead, Blood Rain, a lot of Blood Rains. Oh, it's not fair. Just like a lot of bad movies. Anyway. We know Amy Pascal from doing all of the Spider-Mans. We know David Heyman from, let me see what Heyman is. Harry Potter, including the spinoffs. So they know franchises. And whether you think a lot of those movies, all the Spider-Mans, all the Tom Hollands, all the Harry Potter movies, the Fantastic Beasts, whether you think those are watered down or not, they still grossed so much money. And they're important parts of the movie-going culture. Harry Potter is so popular. Spider-Man is so popular. Spider-Man is so popular. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is so popular. They shot some of the high school stuff here in Atlanta at a high school next to Piedmont Park. Those kids renamed, when they were renaming the school, the kids voted to rename it to Midtown High, the same high school as in the Spider-Man movies and TV shows and comics and video games. Has there ever been a Spider-Man game where we're in high school? Oh my God. I would love, Jesus Christ, they spoiled Abbott Elementary again. I would love to play a Spider-Man game where it's like 2 weeks after you get your powers and you're in high school, senior year. It's kind of like Madden or the NBA games. It's your senior year and you have to go through school and you have to build. It's like Bully, the game Bully. You go through school and you are building up your version of the young Spider-Man, and then DLC where he's in college. You're welcome, Sony and PlayStation. That's the same company. You're welcome, Sony. I wonder what kind of slick property they'll turn this into. What I loved about Daniel Craig's James Bond is that his movies helped modernize the James Bond franchise, while it retains the same. It's definitely much faster, but it retains the same feelings as the other 24 movies. How many movies are there? There's like 27, and he did 5, so like 22 movies. Did he do 5? Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, No Time to Die. I think there's a 5th one. Let me see. Daniel Craig Bond movies. He also did Spectre. How many of these movies do I own? I own all of them except for Quantum of Solace. That's not because I voted with my wallet. It's because I bought them pretty much out of sequence. Well, I bought Casino Royale, and I bought Skyfall and Spectre together, and Spectre was on 4K, and then I bought No Time to Die on 4K. All right, let's move on. This next one comes from IGN, written by Adam Bankhurst. Game Informer is back, and the whole team is returning with it thanks to a new owner, Neil Blomkamp's video game studio. Let's parse every single bit of that. Game Informer was shut down a couple of months ago in August of 2024 from its parent company, GameSpot. GameSpot is owned by CBS, by Paramount, I believe. No, ZDNet. Anyway, so it was, is it owned by Paramount still? I don't know. Anyway, so it was shut down, and we lost our voice in game media coverage. There should be so many voices in news coverage, period, but also things that you can respect. In the same way that I won't go to page6.com to learn about news about something, about the day's news, I won't be going to game industry business.co fart. I know there's a game industry biz website, but there's other video game websites I don't trust. A lot of things don't source, and that's the thing. You got to follow through with a source. The reader and the person who writes. You have to just click through things. Anyway, Neil Blomkamp is the director of one good movie and several other fine ones. Oh, no. He's the director of 2 good movies and several other fine ones. District 9, Elysium, Chappie, Demonic, and Gran Turismo. The ones I like the most are District 9 and Gran Turismo. The other ones... And it seems as though he is instrumental in bringing back Game Informer. In a video letter from the editor, by Game Informer editor-in-chief Matt Miller. I'm sorry I paused for so long. I was parsing out what I was trying to say. It was revealed that Gunzilla Games secured the rights to Game Informer from GameStop, and that it was planning on bringing back not only the editorial team, but production and beyond. What is Gunzilla Games? I just clicked through. They made a game called Off the Grid. I've never heard of it, and I'm a guy who plays video games. And they also, have something called Off the Grid Cinema, and I don't know what that is. Okay, anyway. For those unfamiliar, Gunzilla Games is a game developer and publisher behind the free-to-play extraction battle royale game called Off the Grid. It's now in early access. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, it looks like Neil Blomkamp is part of that Off the Grid stuff. But Miller shared that the new owners, quote, insisted on the idea of Game Informer remaining an independent editorial outlet. We'll see how long that lasts. That's fine to the end. Game Informer is now operating under a new entity called Game Informer Incorporated, and the over 30-year history of the website has returned after being shut off in August of last year. Okay, they're not linked to the website. They're just linked to the article that they wrote. Let's see if, in fact, Game Informer is back up. It is. Looks like it. Cool. Their print magazine's going to be coming back, but later at some point. Anyway, create a Game Informer account and you can hang out there. They've got membership and subscription options and everything. The website looks almost exactly the same. They're doing a lot of belated best of 2024 lists. That's so funny. And they even have a review up for Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's great. I'm glad Game Informer is back. Again, I think it's better to have multiple options in order to know what is good, what news is right. I love it. It's smart. Game Informer has been a huge part of my childhood. I remember going to GameStop and getting magazines and everything like that. I like it a lot. It's very fun. And they have everybody back, which is good, and that's always smart to be able to have consistent voices. Oh, man, I should have... whatever, who cares? The Hollywood Reporter, this next story comes from, written by Winston Cho. OpenAI is ready for Hollywood to accept its vision. OpenAI held a film festival. That's crazy. It was for short films, but major companies did show up. Universal, Disney, some talent agency execs. What will this prove going forward when it comes to being accepted by Hollywood? Using technology called Sora via the OpenAI banner, people can make just insanely real-looking videos. Unfortunately, people like me get tricked into thinking that even like a thumbnail is like a real project from somebody, as opposed to an AI thing that somebody created via Sora. I'm pretty good at parsing them out, though. Sometimes I think last week I was caught up being shown. I watched like a bunch of videos from the Dodo. The Dodo. This is Homer Simpson's YouTube channel. His TikTok. I watched like a bunch of videos from the Dodo on YouTube, dogs and cats, birds, and all that stuff. And then this happened last week. I was watching some videos and I saw a parrot video and I went, wow, let me look at some parrot videos. And I just went to YouTube and typed parrot videos. And I was looking at parrot videos, parrots talking and stuff like that. And then I saw a giant. I wondered how big parrots could get. I typed in giant parrot video, and I was shown a bunch of AI videos. I clicked on one. I had no idea it was AI, and then I saw the woman who was like holding this giant parrot, who was the size of, the size of my backpack back there. The bird was the size, like probably twice the size of the backpack, sitting on her arm, and I went, this can't be real. But I looked at her face, and she kept looking up at the parrot and then looking back at the camera, smiling, and she didn't say anything, and no one was saying anything, and there really wasn't any natural sound. I just went, this is AI. But it took me several seconds of putting that stuff together. And that's the problem. This is what Sasha Johansson, what's her name? Scarlett Johansson. This is what Scarlett Johansson was fighting against. And this is what Robin Williams doesn't want. We should not have this, and it should not be something that's so easy to access. If anything, this is why people went on strike. This is why people will continue to go on strike. Not even just in the entertainment industry, but because this will this could be the ruin for the industry, for any industry as a whole. But being hyper focused right now, it could ruin the entertainment industry. And you can say, oh, these tools at this point in time can only make 10 seconds of video. But what does that mean for somebody who's, let's go back to video games, who's making video games and they make cutscenes, they write them, people act in them, they create them on computers. What does that mean for those people who handcraft cutscenes, who make Baldur's Gate 3, who make your Uncharted, who make your Gears of Wars, and you just want somebody to type in, Marcus Phoenix kills Grunt, and show that cutscene for 2 minutes. It's insane. Baldur's Gate, I'd be like, romance, kiss. Guy who's never played Baldur's Gate. OpenAI has been engaging with studios about Sora, hammering home its applications as it works out kinks with independent filmmakers and undergoes safety testing. Now, the company is pitching Hollywood as it ventures toward widespread adoption of its technology. My man, you stink. Maverick's right next to me, and he is a stinky boy. Rohan Sahai, who leads the Sora product team, tells The Hollywood Reporter in an interview that there's been considerable interest from the entertainment industry. Without specifying the contours of the conversations, he sees utilization of the tools across most stages of production as the tools improve. I'm not somebody who's going to, I'll be on the forefront of this. I'm not somebody who's going to say we shouldn't use AI, period. However, there needs to be safeguards. If you're going to use AI, make sure that we're not using it in such a way that will ruin someone's job, that will take someone's job. I don't want to hear songs made by AI. I don't want to watch movies made by AI. That's part of the reason I turned on the TV about an hour ago, and on Google TV, they have ads for things that are on apps, and I saw just added to Disney Plus, Mufasa, The Lion King, and I just I hate that movie. I'd never seen it. I hate that first Lion King movie that Jon Favreau did. Every single person who was involved with those should be disappointed. The only two people who should not be disappointed are Beyonce and John Oliver, who I gained so much respect for after he has straight up crapped on those movies. I think it's great because he was Zazu and he just crapped. He hated it. Well, the way he talks about it seems like he just makes fun of it, and I love it. But the way Jon Favreau made that original movie is that they didn't go to Africa. They didn't do any of that stuff. They went to this big facility and they put the actors in their, I don't even know if they put them in the balls, but they shot them on this stage that was just all indoors. It was all motion capture. And that's not something that should happen for movies. And yeah, oh, it looks good. Oh, it looks so real and blah, blah, blah. But it was the same movie and nothing was special about it except the way it was shot. Conversely, staying with Disney, the same idea has been sort of implemented in The Mandalorian, which is one of the few Star Wars projects I've seen that I also enjoyed. I've seen two Star Wars things that I really like: The Mandalorian and what's the one that Andor is based on? That movie, Rogue One. Yes. Whew, thank goodness. But every other Star Wars. Oh, and the Lego Star Wars video games. I enjoy those. They're so funny. Anyway, but they created a similar kind of soundstage. The technology they use for that, where it's a bunch of screens, and it makes it look like the actors are in a different, like they're in space or in a different area when they're not. And I love that, but that's not necessarily AI. The idea of creating a big Death Star in AI and passing it off as a movie, as quote unquote content, is baffling to me. And it does not work, and it will make people feel like they're unnecessary. Even though We need people to create these ideas. No matter how sophisticated Chat GPT will get, there will never be, and I use Chat GPT today, but there will never be the things that the humans, the mostly original ideas that humans create. That being said, Avengers Doomsday has 40,000 people in it. 8 of them are people of color. I did go to Wikipedia yesterday. I did count how many people of color in that movie, and there was 8. There was 8 out of like 40 names. I went, we can't give one superhero a different color. God damn. Jesus. No, but he has to be a white man. No, it doesn't. It's all fake. Who gives a shit? Just put in different sexes. Who cares? But this is what AI is. It's a tool. I don't use a hammer to completely build a house. I use a hammer in specific parts. You know? I don't use Audition to cut video. I use Audition to do the audio. Premiere does video. Premiere also does audio. Premiere does coloring as well. Premiere does a little bit of effects, but also, does better effects After Effects. Photoshop does better thumbnails than Premiere does. It's things like that. And the way that production companies and the way that AI companies and the way that people who use these tools and the way that people who think these tools are going to take their jobs see them are completely different. They're completely different. Each one has different branches of ways of thinking how this is going to make things better or make things worse or make things the same. The legal landscape's all over the place when it comes to this. AGBO, the production company run by Avengers directors Joe and Anthony Russo, is making a significant push into the space, mostly hiring AI expert and former Apple exec Dr. Dominic Hughes to serve as its chief scientific officer in a bid to streamline production processes. I'll tell you this about Joe and Anthony Russo. First of all, they have not made a good movie. Second, please hire me, Joe and Anthony Russo. This is what happens when you give indie directors big movies right out the gate. They went from directing Community to the next year putting out Avengers or that's what it is, I think, or Captain America, whichever one they did. I don't really care. They look nice. I'll say that their movies look nice, but they all look the same. Speaking of which, I watched The Electric State last weekend on Netflix. I watched it Saturday night, and then the next day I saw a trailer for it. On Netflix, and I went, "What movie is this?" And I didn't remember the ending at all. I went, oh, it's Chris Pratt and what's her name? Bobby Brown, Millie Bobby Brown are in a different movie. In a movie, I went, "Whoa, that's crazy! What movie is this?" And I went, and then I couldn't remember the ending of the movie. And then I went to Wikipedia and I went, "Oh yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember a thing from that movie. I will say this. I fell asleep and then I woke up and then I moved it back to this part where I fell asleep, where I knew I had not seen. And then I continued watching from that point. And then I went to bed. So I don't know if that affected anything. I also put on... there was a point. I at one point I did stop it again after that. And I went, I'm just going to watch Pokemon The Power of One. Pokemon Mewtwo Returns, the CG remake of that on Netflix. And then I got 10 minutes into that and I went, I just finished the movie. I've seen the Pokemon Mewtwo Returns multiple times, but I just thought, let me watch it again. That's more fun than this. And then I finished The Electric State. Then I fell asleep. OpenAI is so optimistic about this. They've got some people ready to go. There's a screen cap from a movie called Solace. It looks good. Solace, excuse me. And The workflows, though, aren't exactly streamlined. The Sora, they're working on that at this point. An area of production known for especially slim margins is VFX, visual effects, and it really made itself apparent during this festival. The titles selected for the screening featured an array of shots generated by the tool, exhibiting why it's captivated Hollywood: a fish bejeweled in eyes, an ocean vista kissed by a string of setting suns, a silhouette of man swallowed by a vortex of newspapers. It's good that we can create such good and amazing visuals, but that would take time by human hands. But also, let's just not again rely on this. Some VFX artists are already leaning into AI, working with around the legal certain legal constraints by training open source systems on their own works. I'm still hesitant about things I've written online being available, or putting out an interview or podcasts I've recorded being using AI. Just concerned about it. It's I do want to see these grow, but in moderation. There's going to be a time when AI is embraced by Hollywood, but there has to be a little bit of pushback when it comes to where and when it's implemented. If they're making a movie with a very complex suit, let's go back to Disney Marvel. If they're making a movie with a very complex superhero suit that constantly needs to be moving, or Rorschach, they're doing another Watchmen and there's a Rorschach mask that needs to be consistently moving. The Zack Snyder one looked good. I'm sure it was difficult, so maybe they'll do something with that. Maybe they'll figure out a way to do Vertigo from DC Comics as a villain and make everything look wibbly wobbly. He's the only one I can think of at this point. Maybe they can make the Flash replace Ezra Miller's face with literally anybody else. I've been wanting to rewatch that movie. The thing is, I don't like Ezra Miller for all the things that they have done, and for how much of a piece of crap they are. But also, that movie is what they should. The idea, the story of the movie is Flash ruins its Flashpoint. It's Flashpoint if somebody was told the story of Flashpoint. But because I love Flashpoint. And I remember when it happened in the comics, I bought the comics to read it. When it happened. Ugh, it was so cool. Anyway, whatever. I have the Flashpoint animated movie. It's all right. Anyway, but the Flash does Flashpoint, which is where he tries to stop his mom from being killed and his dad from going to jail. But then he ruins the timeline and he runs into a different version of Flash. And now there's two versions of Ezra Miller in this movie being unfunny. And then we have Michael Keaton's Batman. You know what they could have done with the Flash? And if I was Andy Muschietti, this is what I would have done. Andy I like. This is what I would have done. What was the movie All the Money in the World? All the Money in the World was a great movie. I love it. I remember seeing it in theaters. They had Christopher Plummer take on the role of Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's role. They digitally put his face over Kevin Spacey's body at some points, and they did reshoots. I understand the Flash was having problems. Why couldn't they have done that? I would just want to push it back. Oh my God. All right, we're done. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. You can also see video versions of the chats on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. I've got Matthew Davis. I've got other people. I was about to say the next person's, but I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get spoiled. I also just put out an interview with Andy Woodhull. Oh my gosh. Andy Woodhull. I just put out, you got 2 interviews this week. That's amazing. Andy Woodhull. He's a lovely comedian. Listen to that interview that came out before this episode. If you want to see a video version of this show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy. Oh God, I'm trying to start the music. Go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see video versions of not only this show, not only the interviews, but the other podcasts. Late Night Lady, the Late Night Show, and LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast. I understand I did this already, and I'm just now remembering that I did this at the top of the Matthew Davis interview. I've been doing this for too long. Anyway, TikTok, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook @cpluscomedy. Me on those platforms @ChadBlackWhite. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.